explore solutions and actions that hopefully will lead to some shifts in how we deal with this issue locally. So I'm really excited, and if anyone needs a pen to start out thinking about this, of course everything on this sheet is just kind of possibilities. It doesn't have to go like this. Even this agenda can get thrown out the window if we decide we want to do something else tonight. But I thought starting with a brainstorm would probably be the way to include all of our ideas and get us going in a way that, you know, brought everything together, hopefully. So feel free to get some food. Feel free to check in with your neighbor, and feel free to start thinking about ideas for this sheet, because that can help us as we do the go-around and then the brainstorm. So if you need a pen, got a lot of pens here. Anybody need a pen? And you can pass it around. I've also got some community reports and information here, which may or may not be new. And then there's takeaways here. So these are lessons only reading written, and these are take with you if you'd like. Okay. You can. Talk, you guys, talk.
What are we talking about?
Well, check in with whoever's sitting next to you. I mean, we're going to do a go-around in a minute, but it looks like I need to make some more copies of this, so I'll be right back. But there's two behind you with
No.
Does everyone have one of these little agendas?
I was simply off my iPhone in the last 24 hours, and I wanted to open another calendar. So I look at the dates before I go back.
And I don't
No, that's
there
right.
you are. Right.
So we'll pick a day. Yeah.
Now I don't have them say calendar.
No, I have them in my It's just hard to look at the calendar and email
That would be great. And I know you're busy.
Yeah,
And I
I actually
I can
just
really
wanted
stop
to
We're leaving out at 7. Yes, I mean, it's nice to see you. Very sweet, but my procrastinator, and I got my calls and.
If I quit, it would be in a hospital.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great organization, but anyway, I could stop you, so there you are. No, it's going to be a great meeting, and you'll love it.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I haven't, I've scanned it, I haven't read it all. Very dense.
I'll just say welcome again and thank you for being here. I'm so excited. I'm totally surprised by this crowd. I thought it was going to be about 20 people, but I had RSVP. This is the very first meeting. The library called this meeting to basically invite anyone who's interested, but especially the people I already knew who were on my radar. If you didn't receive the invite and you got forwarded the invite or you heard about it, then you're just as welcome. Thank you for being here. I am so glad that we have a room full of people who are interested in exploring the issue of homelessness and solutions to homelessness in Santa Cruz. This is incredible. Why don't you guys just give yourselves a hand for being here? So it's a very rough agenda. I wanted to create the opportunity to invite people to collaborate about what a civic engagement series that explores this issue in depth would look like. I've heard from a lot of people that one of the things we really need is an ongoing forum, a space where dialogue happens for a long period of time in a consistent way and has the ability to build in a narrative arc, to really explore this issue, really understand it from all the different angles, and then really seek solutions. So in that vein, it's taken a long time to sort of get off the ground. I'm seeking grant funding. I've been partnering with various organizations, Smart Solutions and the Institute for Humanities Research are working on funding together and venues and space and bringing, experts in the field. But we also, it's not just about experts in data and information, although that's a big piece, but it's also about activism and grassroots efforts and ideas and envisioning and seeing what other communities have done. Because I think, we are all aware that the solutions are complicated and systems-based, not just about individual agencies or individual actors. So with that said, I wanted to maybe open up the opportunity to start a go-around. We've got to keep it short because we're so big. But I think it's important to have that kind of face-to-face opportunity to say who you are, what organization you work with, what brings you to this room. And maybe, one sentence that you want to see really addressed in a civic engagement series. What is it that we want to shift? What are the missing pieces of the story? And what are outcomes that you hope will happen as a result of, a big community engagement series where we're really inviting people to think deeply about this issue. Does anyone want to start that go-around? Steve.
Yes. I'm Steve Plage. I'm the Vice Chair of ACLU Santa Cruz County. In a sentence, the ACLU of Santa Cruz County has made houselessness one of its yearly priorities. So we're doing everything we can to bring awareness to houselessness. And personally, I am working on making sure that people understand the inadequacy of our shelter situation here. So anything that I do is generally focused on the inadequacy of shelter in our city and county.
I'm I'm Rainey Marr. I'm with the County of Santa Cruz, Homeless Services Coordinator, and can I just a question? In a collaborative public engagement series, I think I'd really love to see some real stories about the real people that are affected in order to put a real human face on it beyond just what people see on the streets, but kind of what's behind that. And to bust those myths about all the homeless people here are from somewhere else, because I think that's really not true. I think there's a lot of people, this is their home and this is where they became homeless, and we need to own that as a community. I'd like to see that message change.
Hi, my name is Phil Kramer. I'm the Executive Director at the Homeless Services Center, and myth busting is actually the note that I wrote next to what I'd like to see in a community engagement. So definitely dispelling some of the frequently held myths around homelessness, and then I guess the other thing I'd like to see is imagining the possibility of what it would be like to have everyone housed and healthy.
I'm Teresa Adams, and I work in fund development and communications, primarily around the issues of getting people housed. And I see this as a community, a way for creative problem solving. I think we have enough money here. I think we have enough creativity and smarts to actually address these problems as a community.
I'm Evan Guy. I'm with the UC Santa Cruz Institute for Humanities Research, and I'm here to learn more about the issues, and we're here to support Miley.
Ina Akwowicz, I'm the Managing Director of the Institute for Humanities Research, and as Miley said, we're working on some grant possibilities together from the California Council of Humanities. There might be some other larger grants that we can think about for UCSC and the community together. And we're just interested in general about, since this is a Humanities Research Institute, thinking about how the humanities play a role in these conversations.
My name is Serge Cagno, and I helped at Winter Shelter, and I helped Miley on the Thursdays thing. Background's mental health and substance use treatment. I like more outreach and more understanding services, because there's a lot of services that are out there that people don't know about, and as community engagement, finding the little bits that different people are able to give, just be using the resources that we have in the community.
I'm Claudio Martinez, and I've worked in different, the Bay Area has been my home, the Monterey Bay and also the San Francisco Bay since 1965. I've worked in restaurants, construction. I worked at the Children's Hospital at Stanford and at the Earth Sciences Library at Stanford, and am homeless. So.
My name's Doris Shuey. I'm very proud to work at the library and see its support of these services, and then I'm also on the board of the Santa Cruz ACLU. I would like to see addressed and people to be very aware that one of the main reasons for houselessness in our community is the gap between wages and the cost of housing. I think that really needs to be brought out and made it so it's very hard for people to ignore that.
Good evening. I apologize for being late today. My name is Robin McKee. I'm the Smart Path Project Manager working on coordinated entry system for the county at the Homeless Services Center. And I'd like to see a conversation where we can all bring our individual contributions to the solutions around homelessness. So things from immediate needs and shelter to long-term housing, affordable housing. So really seeing how all those pieces fit together as a community.
I'm Maria Romero with Smart Solutions to Homelessness, and I would like to see a program where we include empathy and increase empathy between people that are housed and unhoused in our community.
My name is Sylvia Karras. I'd like us to, I'm a community member and belong to a lot of different things. I'd like us to be very aware of how hard it is to be homeless, what a strain it is to just provide for oneself during the day. To look at housing as a health intervention and therefore a systemic approach to everything, including the economics, the social social determinants of health.
My name is Zoe. I am here with my grandmother, Sylvia. I don't have an organization. I'm very interested in, just private property, which is where I do most of my work. So I'm interested in the wage gap, the people from Silicon Valley moving to Santa Cruz, and how all of that's affecting people who live here who might not have a house. Yeah.
My name is Don Lane. I'm with Smart Solutions to Homelessness. And Smart Solutions, kind of its purpose is to build community will to reduce and end homelessness. So I'm here because I hope that this program and this series that I hope will be developed will be a part of that process of building community will, that it's going to take just getting everyone in the community to think about this issue and think constructively about it. And I think this will be a really great contributor to that.
Hi, my name's Merity Wells, and I'm very concerned about hungry people, and I like feeding people. So I've made a list, which most of you know about, that is available on a website, www.free-guide.org. There's a Santa Cruz free guide. It's one page with all the resources. The most important resources that currently I think there are, all the meals, toilets, and showers, and this is distributed all over. You can make copies, I encourage you, and hand it out like this. I know there are a lot of people that are starving, and I think it's great to feed them. In terms of the series, I think just us getting together and talking about it, and learning like the Mythbusters and more empathy, and just let's get together and talk about it and make some more progress for it.
I'm George. I work with Food Not Bombs. If you're not busting this, you can step across Center Street. And, Food Not Bombs is having a feeding as we speak, and you could meet some real homeless people.
I'm Keith, and I'm with Food Not Bombs and Freedom Sleepers, and I would, on the immediate thing is I would hope that we'd have a campaign to end the criminalization of people living on the streets, and that we remove the mosquito boxes from our community, that we provide containers for people to safely put their belongings, that we ban the policy of driving homeless people out of covered areas into the rain, that we stop bothering people for sitting and sleeping in line, and that we abandon the most parts of the sleeping ban. So that would be the most immediate things I think would be useful.
Open up the restrooms.
Having more 24-hour restrooms, more facilities for washing clothes, things that are practical like that, more showers. And then I would like this group to decide that we were going to create X number of hundreds of affordable housing units per year, and that's something we've been advocating now at least 30 years now. We haven't started really in any major project, but have the political will to really do that, and to, just insist that happen, and to work for a state law like they are trying to get in Hawaii, where being homeless is considered a medical problem, and that the prescription is funding for housing. And that I think also that there should be, we need to get millions and millions of more dollars directed towards solving all these problems. And we have the richest people in the world are with only an hour's drive from here, and they should start to kick down and make sure that happens. And that and as people have noted, most, something like 80% of people are from here. Transience is not really as all these myths that we hear about people, and I think that to deflect attention from kind of dehumanizing homeless people that a small segment of our society spends a lot of energy doing, and to resist that and to point out the dangers of dehumanizing people. Those are some ideas I have. And we'll be sleeping out again tomorrow. You know, we only do it a couple of times a week or once a week, maybe twice a week, but other people sleep out every night, and I just want to acknowledge that. And we're trying to support the people sleeping out at the City Hall so that they are safe and are not being harassed by the rangers and the police and having their belongings taken and being arrested for being homeless, essentially.
Hi, my name is Matt Nathanson. I'm a nurse who works at the Homeless Persons Health Project. And I guess I came as much as anything because I've been doing this work for about 19 years. And I feel like I'm just looking for some new ways to address this issue. I feel like there's, you know, I don't feel that the problem either of homelessness in Santa Cruz County is getting hugely better, but I also don't feel like the problem of sort of tolerance issues between different parts of the community is getting better. And so as people have talked about myth busting and telling people stories, and I mean, I'm really clear that there are a lot of things we can't or don't do in our community because of sort of the myths and fears that people have about what these solutions might lead to. I mean, for me, the reaction to syringe exchange in our community is just one small example of that. Science is really clear about it will save people's lives, it will reduce drug use, but people are afraid of it and people demonize it. And there are many examples like that, so I'm really interested in just engaging with other people and hearing other people's ideas.
My name is Charles McCall. I'm not from here, I'm from Monterey County, and I'm here to find out what we can do in Monterey County since you guys have already had this war going on. So maybe we can do something to shorten it. You know, I wasn't prepared for this actually, right here, right now. But I know it should be brought to light. And that's why I'm here, to learn what I could bring back to Salinas or Monterey County, see what they can do with it. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Steve Diaz. I'm also from Salinas. We're good friends, and you know, I started an organization about 9 months ago on Facebook. It was just me and my young daughter and my wife, just basically going out to serve the homeless, feeding them, clothing them, giving them sleeping bags, blankets, whatever we could get our hands on. So pretty much on Facebook, it just took on its own organization. I mean, it kind of grew without me realizing. So I'm just here to learn from all you guys, and we want to bring this type of group to Salinas. We have a big need. You know, they haven't actually implemented the no sleeping law yet, but we do have a city ordinance that prevents tenting up. So we have to be very careful when we give out a tent or a tarp or a sleeping bag. But they haven't stopped us from feeding. This is all Christian-based, and so right now we just recently got our nonprofit certificates, and so we're hoping that a church would come and take us under their wing and get more churches involved to actually go out there and make a difference in our city. So we love doing that. So we're helping.
I'm Phil Posner. I'm involved in various aspects of this. I'm a member of the Temple Bethel Social Action Committee. Basically, I am in coalition with Steve as we try to move towards an eventual shelter that's for emergency. That would be a shelter where people would come at nighttime. They would sign in. There would be a social worker and security people there, and a place where they could maybe even shower and put their, as Keith said, be able to put their stuff. But ultimately, and I agree obviously with Keith in terms of the tragedy of criminalizing people because they're homeless, it's just outrageous. And I guess for me, the issue is a lack of empathy in this community and lots of other communities for human suffering. The fact that so many people, including this present city council, continues to have a ban for people to sleep at nighttime is just unconscionable. And you can see it, I just, that I live in a town where people are told they can't sleep at night, and if they try, they can get cited, etc. I own a home in Mexico. We don't treat people like that in Mexico.
My name is Louise Drummond, and I'm an interested community member. I belong to the Civic Social Action Committee, which is making homelessness a major theme, helping out with that. And I have to second everybody here. Everyone has spoken about things that I'm concerned about, and I think that this problem has been slow to germinate for the last 40 or 50 years as substandard housing has been torn down and gentrification of poor areas has occurred, but apathy about the people who have been displaced has been a major problem in this. And I would like to see more caring generally about other members in our community, and especially about the people that society has chosen to mistreat so badly. Thank you.
I'm Kat, and I have been a supporter of Food Not Bombs and other groups and actions and organizations to address homelessness. I quite fully agree with those people that the only way to end homelessness is by housing. Well, that may seem oversimplified, but it seems like it's so very logical to me. You know, there are a lot of things between sleeping on the streets or living on the streets and getting housing, and we have lockers for bicycles. We don't have places where people can put what is their simple belongings, their simple life belongings. And those of us that have homes have rooms and closets and garages and cars. And we can't make available some spaces similar to the bike lockers for people to park some of their goods so that your entire energy isn't going towards pushing and pulling those things around. And some showers, and some place to get cleaned up and get dressed. I mean, if you well-to-do, you belong to a gym or you go home to a shower. There's got to be ways between being on the streets and ultimately being in housing that we can deal with. And we must deal with it. And I think we have to deal with it not just as churches, and I think this is wonderful that the churches are very involved, but also as a community, our own governments need to go through us to deal with this.
I'm Zav. Slept out with Freedom Sleepers a lot. And breakfast there once a week on Wednesday mornings. Currently working as a tenant advocate. And if there's going to be a constructive public engagement series, I think I would echo what Kat and Keith are saying about needing real practical life-altering amenities for people, and amenities may be the wrong word, but talking about that with the community and helping people understand why that's so important. I want to talk about why housing is so scarce and expensive in the city and county, and
those are some main topics I'd like to see in any kind of public conversation.
My name's Audrey, I'm a UCSC student and I'm involved in a group called Santa Cruz Solidarity Network. We're focusing on housing and houselessness right now. We're kind of taking it on as a project. I didn't know this was going on, I'm excited to be here. But what I would like to see is, of course, basic practical needs being met, like what's already been said. But I think in order to house people, we need to change the cultural idea or concept of what housing is and what housing is for, because I think right now housing is seen as a commodity to be bought and sold and profited off of, and I think we need to change that conception to something that is basic human need and right.
Karen, I'm a student at UCSC and also involved with the Santa Cruz Solidarity Network. Also, I also didn't know I was going to be here right now. In terms of what I think I'd like to see in the sort of public engagement series is a space where we get to hear from people that are experiencing houselessness or have experienced houselessness, how we may support them, not necessarily only with services, but their efforts in self-determination in whatever terms they decide that means.
Hi, my name's Kim, and I do work with Food Not Bombs. I agree with Zav and the woman about Audrey. Yeah, and Keith. I feel like we have to be really clear about not doing things that are geared towards community policing, and make sure that nothing that we do has that paint of community policing, because it takes all these bizarre subtle forms. So we just need to have more clarity around what homeless people need, so that we're not harassing them or taking their benches away or keeping them from using the bathroom because they're, using it to wash up. I mean, that's community policing. When you say you can't go in the bathroom because you're brushing your teeth or you're washing your face, that's community policing. So stop doing that, And then I think also I agree with what, looking at amenities like storage, those are really important. Storage, I think, is way up there, because if you take care of that and you'll take care of your trash problem and the barriers for homeless people to access what everyone else gets to access, because they're carrying this big backpack, they won't be carrying it anymore. And, yeah, I think that's about it.
My name's Rebecca. I'm a committee member. I'm active in issues related to mental health and incarceration. And something I'd like to see come out of an engagement series would be actually some lasting engagement on maybe a one-on-one basis between people who are experiencing homelessness and community members in some kind of safe way where they can learn what that's actually like and maybe be a support system or understand how challenging it is to get out of that situation and what the real resources are and how hard it is to know how to navigate that and just really understand that experience. I think it would be, I think without understanding about what it's really like on the part of community members, it's easy to have misconceptions and have, feel okay about a situation that's really not okay. And I think as a broader community, to get a better understanding of what the situation really is, I think it's really important to have that one-on-one contact with people who are going through this experience. That's my view.
Hi, I'm Julie Conway. I am with the county's housing program, and we serve as the lead agency for the Continuum of Care, which is the conduit for HUD funding to address homelessness. It brings in around $2 million a year for various programs. I'm really glad to have a conversation around homelessness. Community engagement is, I think it's really important to, for the community to have a deeper understanding about what daily lives, as so many people have mentioned, what does it really like to be homeless in our community? What does it mean to be homeless in our community? And so many of the basic needs that, we haven't figured out as a community how to address, things like storage and bathrooms and showers. And just alone, much less actually what are the things that are going to be necessary to end homelessness for every single person experiencing it.
I am Tina Sutner, and I volunteer at the Warning Center the last 2 years. And I got involved, I work over in Santa Clara County with adult men, and 90% of them are homeless. And so I figured this was a good way for me to get back to my own community, to look at how can I better serve the homeless and the needs of the individuals.
I'm Brent Adams. I direct the Warming Center program. We had a really good winter. I take a strong stand now when I want to lead a movement in Santa Cruz and on the entire West Coast that we call it houselessness. But really, we allow every night people to sleep on the street as we're playing with money, playing with bureaucracies. I struggle with which Brent to show up with tonight because there are a lot of people in this room that I really want to help our program in the future. But we allow, it's not myths, every one of us allows this to occur all over the state. I just finished a 40 city tour. I'm making a documentary. I've slept in a tent in the city of San Francisco on the American River. I'm making a documentary to show that homelessness is mushrooming everywhere, and we're allowing it because we call it homelessness. We could next week get every single human being off the street into a type of shelter, even if it's a nylon tent. But we let people in this city not even use a tent. That I tell you, it's not only criminal, it's insane, and we're all complicit. And so I advocate and strongly take a stand that in this state, we're going to no longer have homelessness, and it's not about putting people in permanent supported housing and HUD funding. We're going to actually get everybody off the street into shelters, into tiny homes, into tents, into well-organized, well-run programs, because we're close to the Silicon Valley. It's almost like we have a crisis of imagination where forever we're just going to be in these sort of meetings. On May 8th, we have a meeting called Coalition of Homelessness. I want everyone there. It's on May 8th, room 1 at Loudon Nelson. And it's really between the activists talking about the illegality of homelessness and permanent supported housing over here, which I tell you is a panacea. It hasn't been done in the state. I went to Salt Lake City to see if it happened, and it didn't. Everything in the middle. The unmet need of homeless experienced on the street right now is what we're not actually talking about. We're starting to talk about it, but we do need a real conversation about showers, laundry, all these dignity-creating things that we demand for ourselves that we're denying everyone else in this community.
Can you pass those around?
Well, I had to change the terms on the thing, so I'll pass this around. I don't want that one seen.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm with Friends Outside. We work with the incarcerated and recently released population. So a large majority of our clients are either living on the streets or experiencing extreme housing insecurity. And so basically, that's why I'm here. I would really like this conversation to be, solutions oriented. I'm tired of referring clients to sign up for a waiting list or to help them buy a tent that's going to be stolen or confiscated. And also just a larger conversation about affordability, housing affordability here, working for a small nonprofit. It breaks my heart to see my coworkers who have lived in Santa Cruz their entire lives not be able to afford to live here anymore, to barely be able to afford to live in Watsonville.
Hi, I'm Nancy Crusoe. I've been working with Warming Center for several years, and I echo what Brent just said. To me, the most important thing is to recreate, reimagine a shelter for people who sleep outside, and whatever it looks like. If any one of us can check into the same place every day and call it home, it creates something new, and it can't just be a different place day after day. My passion is finding a way to create what is home, but it just doesn't look like yours is home. That and echoing what Don said about creating community will, that seems a really significant part of this to make something happen.
Hi, I'm Annette March. I do a project called Not the Other, Oral Histories of People Experiencing Homelessness. I'm also a member of the Associated Faith Communities, and I've done some projects with Smart Solutions. People have been very good about delineating what many of the needs are. I'd like us to, in our community conversations, be very clear and vocal about what the needs are, and to think collectively about how we're going to meet those needs, that those needs are our responsibility to meet. I'd also like to see in that community conversation that people are not othered, and that we think of our stakeholders as including people who are houseless. Finally, I think there's what I see as an absence, thinking about permanent housing. There's one way of looking at it, I think we may not have done so far. There's permanent housing, there's transitional housing, there's emergency housing. We're familiar with all these terms, and in our town we do all of that. There's something in between emergency and transitional that some of the ideas have come up tonight. It might be tiny house, it might be a place to go home, it might be RV parking, it might be even bigger than what we're thinking about. And we don't have a name for that interim place that may not be interim at all. So I don't think we have the word. I'd like us to think about that.
Some of the people didn't get a chance to talk, including Abby.
No, we're gonna keep going. We'll keep going to everyone who's here.
Go ahead, Chip.
Hello, I'm Chip. I'm with the Downtown Association. And I apologize for being late.
My name is Wes Wyatt. I'm from Salinas, and I was part of Monterey County Homeless Union. We also did a 6-month sleep out like the Freedom Sleepers every day in Salinas for about 6 months. And as a consequence, we ended up with an unlawful camping ordinance. So then now everybody's illegal, and they're about to close a couple of warming shelters. You guys already closed yours. And now the Women's Alive and the warming shelter are both going to end May 1st, which now automatically makes a lot of people criminals because they're outside. And, you know, one of the biggest things I've been trying to push in my own town is connecting people with services. The HMIS database, the CARS program for Monterey County. You know, people get in, they get on the waiting list, then they should be able to stay unaccosted and be able to, as long as they, you know, pick up their trash and, you know, their pee and poo. I don't really see, everything else is for the service providers to take care of. And just stop stealing everything from people. You know, start treating people like people and making it, make carrying profitable again.
Hi, I'm Janice O'Driscoll. I'm Assistant Director for the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. I welcome each one of you to the library, and what I hope for this meeting and for all the meetings that will come is that we will be able to use the library space and the library resources to talk to each other, show compassion for each other, and find solutions. And I hope this is the start of that.
My name's Craig. I'm interested in tiny structure, tiny houses and microstructures, and granny units. I think there's a fortune to be made in granny units if the city were to be able to make that affordable. So these lovely old garages that inns have in the back of your houses can be turned into granny units. So you have income and money in your liquid as homeowners. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tia Panate. I'm a public health nurse at the Homelessness Health Project along with Matt Nicholson. And I've been here for a little less than a year. I relocated from San Francisco, and San Francisco also has their issue with homelessness going on. It's state of emergency, in my opinion. But coming here to Santa Cruz when I started at the clinic, I was kind of really shocked to know, okay, where do people go take a shower? Okay, we have the homeless service center. There's really not a lot of showers for all the people that are experiencing homelessness. And I know people can go to the soup kitchen. I'm like, okay, where do people go get some food if they're hungry. And I'm very thankful for Food Not Bombs, because honestly I think that's probably one of the healthiest meals that our friends can get right now. So I think that's another thing we need to look at is increasing food access, because I know we have so much wasted, and I know there's programs to support that. And before I left today at the clinic, you know, I had to go ask to see if someone could get a meal, or was offer this person Ensure to drink, because I forgot about Food Not Bombs tonight, sorry. Also, just, you know, bathrooms. I have people that come into my clinic asking if they can use the bathroom because, you know, they have to go through HSC to check in, and I know the community's really mad about people defecating on the street. And I know there's this program here with the porta potties, but I know there's been instances where people have gone during the night and they're not available. So, you know, it's these basic human rights of sleep, food, shelter, and just continuing that open conversation about different types of shelter. I know we've talked about tiny houses, sanctuary camps, transitional, you know, and also thinking about, you know, I know there's that interim, maybe people that need less restrictive environments, places where people can come and go. You know, we're not okay to develop these or put the money into it, but we allow people to die on the street, which we recently had someone die of hypothermia, which is unacceptable. Another thing is just decriminalizing homelessness. You know, we're not going to provide any alternatives, but we're going to continue to, you know, issue out these citations for people, which you know, I'm sure we can all agree is not okay. And I wonder how much does Santa Cruz spend, how much does the county spend on enforcing this decriminalization, and like I said, providing no alternatives. Another thing I really would like to see, and I think we all agree also with the collaboration with this panel series, is I think first and foremost we have to invite the people who are experiencing homelessness. What do they want? What do they need? I think we really need to hear it from them. We can all sit around and come up with these great ideas, but we need to hear it from them first. So I think every forum we need to invite our friends, and I'm really happy to see other community members here, and that's the big thing, is how can we continue to invite more people in, because I see a lot of familiar faces and then some not so much, but so that's the big challenge, is supervisors, city council, etc. So that's my 2 minutes.
I'm Abby Samuels. I'm part of the Food Not Bombs and Freedom Sleepers. I sleep out at City Hall once or 2, maybe 3 times a week, and watch how the police, first alarm, and the rangers criminalize the homeless people by either giving them tickets, taking away their belongings, even taking away their cleaning equipment, like brooms, and things that they're being yelled at for, that they don't clean up after themselves, and they're confiscating it. Also, I believe it is not a difficult, I don't think it's that complex to find solutions. The amount of money that the county, the city have to spend, as we read, perhaps some of us in the Sentinel today, the amount of money that goes out for emergency services and so forth, is a lot more than giving housing out. However that may look, there's empty buildings, we can do eminent domain, but I've been told it's not that simple, the budget doesn't work like that. But I believe it's a matter of priorities with the city council, a matter of priorities with the county, with the board of supervisors. Also, the anti-homeless architecture going on in the city is more than criminal. The people that decided to do these things, such as mosquito boxes with high-frequency sounds that Brent Adams took a good video of. So it's unbelievable that you would put these high-frequency sounds all over the places, the businesses of Santa Cruz, where people can have some shelter from the rain, including the fence at the post office. And if there's problems with bathrooms, instead of paying First Alarm $90,000 to have more people to guard the bathrooms, maybe they could pay people that are homeless that want jobs to
clean the bathrooms and watch the bathrooms. There are so many different solutions in my mind, but not, there's too much kickback from a small group, very vocal group in Santa Cruz. And that, I think, is one of our big issues, is a small yet very vocal group that write the city council on a weekly basis, complaining about the quote-unquote vagrants, so forth. So thanks.
I'm Robert Norris, and I'm going to be hopefully playing this on free radio if anybody wants to hear it next Sunday. I'm a critic of a lot of the groups represented here, probably including this group itself, the Homeless Service Center for not answering emails, all kinds of concerns with different groups. The library itself for excluding homeless people, for enacting new rules that are harsher on homeless people than other libraries and then in the past in this library. But the real issue is not all these things that we've repeated, each of us, and properly so, about sleeping and toilets and all this stuff. It's obvious. For me, there's a group of people across the street every night for the last 6 weeks, not just the freedom sleepers. I call them the survival sleepers, and it's in that flyer I gave you. These are folks who are going to be 10, 12, 15 strong every night until they're driven out into the rain in the middle of the night when they have to go to the sidewalk and sleep in the rain. But they keep coming back. And the point is, this group, individually or collectively, can help support that group. That's the only group here, with all due respect, or perhaps disrespect, that is actually doing something concrete on a nightly basis. They are putting their bodies out there. They have no choice. They have to survive. So they go in a group where there's likely to be more support. If one of them has an overdose, if one of them has a need, there's a group of people out there. We can do something about this individually. You can do it in the next weeks. You can go up there and see what's happening. You can join together in small groups, get your friends up there. You don't have to spend the night. Just go there. And don't just do it on Tuesday nights. Do it any night you're free. Spend a little time there, talk to some folks, get a phone number, say, call me if some cops come in the middle of the night if you live nearby. You'll come down with a camera, take a picture. That tends to make the police nervous about driving people away. And this group of people is the group that will force City Council to take some action. What action will be, I don't know. I think there's a man who hasn't spoken yet who's here.
Oh, he just left.
Ah, okay.
But you can actually talk to him from across the street.
I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you said what you said, because I think it's important, and I have a lot of respect for the freedom sleepers, the survival sleepers. I also think that we've seen lots of different actions and avenues tried over the last 30 years. I remember this issue in the 90s. We were dealing with this in the 90s. We're dealing with ramping up of criminalization and homelessness being, ticketed and criminalized in all these different ways. We haven't moved beyond these impasses. And so the idea with this series is to give a wider, broader forum for community members who don't know about this issue, who haven't been watching the news, who don't think it has anything to do with them, and yet, maybe we can shift that a little bit. Maybe we all actually in this room are playing really important roles in changing how the community deals with this issue, I think. I mean, our PIT survey has shown that over the last several years, we have decreased homelessness in Santa Cruz. It maybe doesn't feel like that anecdotally. Right now, after 2 years of funding changes at HSCA with all of our emergency services, which have changed the way that basic amenities are being provided or not provided, and which have probably increased the level of suffering to an enormous extent. I'm giving you my personal read on the situation. But I hope that we can work together, and I hope we can acknowledge that everyone in this room wants to end homelessness, right? Is that true? I think that's absolutely true. I think that's why everyone's here. So the more we can see every single voice as part of changing a huge systems problem, and the more we can orchestrate and collaborate together on this, the farther we're going to get. It's not about one group having the answer, because there are so many pieces to the puzzle. But hopefully, if we work together in a collaborative way over a long period of time, we're going to have to give ourselves the time to do this, even though it feels so urgent, even though we see that someone is dying on the street. We see people going from looking relatively okay, a little scruffy, to, you know, being completely weathered and having sores on their face. I am seeing that at the library. I see that every day. We are all seeing that, and we feel the urgency, and yet we have to give ourselves the opportunity to find real solutions, substantive system solutions that are not just going to be Band-Aid effects and not just going to give one organization credit, but are going to actually make substantive change on this. That's what I hope to see. That's why I'm committing my time as a librarian and as a city employee to trying to bring about some change. So I hope we can move on to the next section, which is a brainstorm. If you have to leave, and I know some folks do, I hope that you can fill out this worksheet. Write me as much or as little as you want. Attach a second page. Do some brainstorming and make sure your contact info is here. Because we want to include everyone that wants to be involved in either hosting one of the events or bringing in a specific speaker or telling your point of view, letting the community know about the action that's taking place that you are hosting or organizing. Let's use this forum to bring all the pieces together and to increase awareness amongst a wider, broader audience about what's going on. So if you have to go, please fill this out and make sure we have contact information. We want to create work groups, task forces, and outcomes from this that will create the series that will launch hopefully in September.
Before we go, can we make an announcement?
We're not going yet. We're going to do a brainstorm.
Well,
But
some of us have to go
gonna
because we're planning a major demonstration on May the 9th, and I'm hoping we can just announce that tonight.
Okay, announce that. Go ahead.
Steve, would you tell them about the May 9th?
It's a group of folks, including the Association of Faith Communities, Republican ACLU will sponsor, Freedom Sleepers, Survival Sleepers, the Homeless Persons Legal Assistance Project. All these groups are getting together. We want to continue to bring the focus on the lack of shelter in Santa Cruz because the winter shelter is just closed after a 129-day successful run, we feel. Still, the shelter is inadequate in Santa Cruz, so we want to get as many people as we can on May 9th over the post office to march to City Hall, to speak out there, to sleep out if you like, to address City Council. We were hoping to get as many of the volunteers. There were 1,000 volunteers in the 129 nights of the winter shelter this year. We're trying to get as many of those as we can. Get everybody to make sure that the focus stays on shelter. There are a lot of people here in this room that are working on shelter. Brad Allen's working on shelter. Rabbi working on shelter. A lot of folks really believe that we need adequate shelter. Keith McKenna, Abby Samuels. That's what we want to continue to have the focus be on for us. There are a lot of other good ideas in this room. There are a lot of good task force ideas that have come out of this, and we will support those. But we want people to come out and stand up and show up and speak up for the unsheltered in Santa Cruz on May 9th. So if you can, join us.
We call it a visible call to conscience.
There you go.
Bring a blanket.
All right. So I wanted to see if we could move towards imagining what a civic engagement series that really brings all, thank you for coming, really brings all these pieces together might look like. And since I know a lot of folks are running out of time, I wonder if we could do this in traditional grassroots way. How about you grab a marker and you write the thing on this sheet that needs to be involved in the series. And if you could, let's try and imagine this being the beginning of the series. It goes for 14 months. So if it's telling a story, how does that story evolve? Are we starting with what does it look like in this community? What are the myths about it? How do we undo the myths? What are the pieces that are hidden or hard to decipher? And I tried to give us some tools for getting started on thinking about that arc. Yes, go ahead. So here's pens, and I'm asking folks to come up and help me to map out what the arc of the series can look like. Let's make sure we don't forget the things that you want to see be part of this series. And then, since I don't have a traditional sign-up sheet, I'm using this. So make sure you tell me your contact information so that I can help organize a next meeting, group you with others who are concerned about that same issue, and try to figure out a way forward on this series.